we can see the following exponential growth graphic example, where the domain is from negative infinity to infinity, the range from 0 to infinity, and reference point is 0, 1.
Chernobyl was the most catastrophic nuclear explosion of the world's history that occurred in Ukraine. In that time, the Chernobyl nuclear center was used for a military program for the Soviet Union, and the accident happened because of a mistake in the security system, because it was outdated and had a bad level of automatization. During the night of April 26 of 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear center was running an experiment in which they tested a new type of gamma. This experiment caused an overheating on the fuel, thus making the downfall of the generator's surface. After the explosion, as a safety measure for the citizen, they all left the radioactive city.
In the case of rabbits, excluding the factors of predators, survival conditions, space, and food and water resources, a rabbit population increases in a 200% each year based on perfect growth conditions. The formula used on the rabbit population growth is y equals 5 times 2 at the power of x. And as we can see on the representation of the 5-year chart, in 1 year we will have 10 rabbits, and in 2 years we will have 20 rabbits, and in 5 years we are going to have 160 rabbits.
A second example of exponential growth is present at a cellular level with the bacteria, which covers our body, our world, and basically everything around us. In the example below, we can observe this type of exponential growth, although some bacteria is not perfectly synchronized with the growth pattern. By average, we can see how bacteria population increases by the hour. A perfect example of why after 24 hours or less in contact with a bacteria, we can see rapidly the effects of it being inside of our body system.
For the graphical representation of exponential growth, we use an example of the number of bacteria, how they reproduce in hours. The domain of this will be parentheses, negative infinite to positive infinite, close parentheses. The range will be parentheses 0 to positive infinite, close parentheses. And our reference point is 6,4. Is when you are making a tennis table tournament. You start with 64 players in the first round, and in the fifth round you will have the final. So we use the formula y equals 64 divided by 2 at the power of x.
For our second example of exponential decay in real life, we use the percentage of radioactive atoms after a nuclear explosion. The domain of this exponential equation is from negative infinite to positive infinite. The range is from parentheses 0 to the positive infinite, and the reference point is 10,25.
The exponential decay is the decreased quantity. By this, it means that get smaller exponentially. The exponential decay is commonly used in a physical process like radioactive decay. We can see a graphical representation now.
Exponential decay graphical representation, we used a simple graph. Its domain is from negative infinite to positive infinite. The range is from 0 to the infinite, and the reference point is 0, a, which a is the same value from the formula of y equals ab to the power of x.
Exponential growth. Exponential growth is the growth rate of a value in proportion to the current value and taking into account time as a variable expressed in years, days, hours. The general formula is expressed as follows: y equals ab at the power of x. As we can see on the graph, the asymptote is located as y equals 0, and when b is less than 1, it is then an exponential decay. When b is equal to 1, the graph will react by remaining horizontal rather than ascending. The domain of this graphical representation of exponential growth is parentheses negative infinite to positive infinite close parentheses. The range is parentheses 0 to infinite close parentheses, and our reference point is 0, a.
Now, the implications of nuclear energy usage. Nuclear energy is considered one of the most clean and eco-friendly way of getting electricity that generate no greenhouse gas effects under a controlled and stable model. According to the Nuclear Energy Institute, nuclear plants emit no greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide or CO2, due to the fact it uses fission to emit energy, which only releases steam rather than the conventional process of coal, which generates serious quantities of hazardous gases. We consider that nuclear energy is a very ecological energy type under the correct security, with measurements and protocols. However, there is a risk factors that comes with it.
If the energy emitted by the fission reaction gets out of control, there can be a major nuclear leak, which is then hazardous for the ecosystem where this occurs. An example of this is the very own Chernobyl incident. We think nuclear energy is the future of energy output, but there must be even more safety precautions and so on to ensure that an accident like Chernobyl never occurs again. Nuclear energy wastes take thousands of years to be removed, and safety precautions have to be taken according to the radioactive level.
Mexico, yes, has a nuclear power plant and is located in Laguna Verde, Veracruz, that has been operating since 1989 and produces a considerable amount of the nation's energy. We think that a nuclear plant is as safe as there hasn't been any accidents since it was first operating. This and that the constant updates that the machinery has been given, such as in 2011 with a new steam turbine system and so on, give so the confidence that a nuclear plant is amongst the safest when it comes to operation. We agree with the fact that there is a nuclear plant in our country, as they generate high amounts of clean, greenhouse gas free, and durable energy through the lifespan. We agree to the point that we support the CFE project according to the World Nuclear Association to make a quarter of Mexico energy by sometime in the latest 2000.
Since the radiation affected the clouds, so the damage expanded all around the globe. Since the radiation affected partially all the world, then in theory it also affected Mexico. Mexico's Gulf was affected by the Chernobyl explosion in a sense, since there was many oil spilled in that time. Effects of the Chernobyl explosion. First of all, was the thyroid cancer. It was a type of cancer that developed after the explosion of the Chernobyl nuclear plant. Second, everyone under 30 kilometers radius from the explosion was evacuated and or relocated for its safety. Also, livestock, water, and plants near the explosion were contaminated, giving cancer to its consumers. And lastly, there were many indirect effects from the explosion, Birds from animals and humans had deformations or mutations, and also in some cases cancer from being exposed from the radiation. Now, the effects of nuclear weapons. Nuclear explosions produce both immediate and delayed effects. Blast, thermal radiation, and prompt ionizing radiation cause significant destruction within seconds or minutes of a nuclear detonation. The delayed effects, such as radioactive fallout and other environmental effects, inflict damage over an extended period ranging from hours to years. We think that these consequences of nuclear energy process and accidents are catastrophic. We, as humans, shouldn't be risking our lives, environment, and planet so recklessly. Nuclear energy has many positive contributions. It is a very resourceful energy, it lasts for very long periods of time, and the damage to the greenhouse gases is minimum compared to others. But the consequences of the accidents eclipses all positive aspects of it. In the case if it fails, the nuclear plants will be places of the Earth unhabitable, since the radiation will kill all residents close to it for many years. Compared to nuclear energy, other types of energy are safer, just like fossil fuels or electricity. We don't think that nuclear energy is needed for human development and shouldn't be used anymore since we seriously harm our planet every time we have an accident. Instead of finding more ways to create energy, we should be focused on refining what we already have. For example, to have a more efficient way to use electrical energy, to reduce the global warming intensity pollution made by burning fossil fuels, and so on. This was a very interesting project. Only at the beginning it was difficult to communicate since we only had the mails, but once the WhatsApp group was created, the communication was smoother. We liked the project because it was unique to anything we have done before, but it was quite a challenge to coordinate with each other, and we had difficulties to read the video. What we like the most is that we actually work with people from another campus without even meeting in person.
All of our team members, Luis, Pato, Oscar, and me, Angel, communicate by WhatsApp and we work mostly by Google Drive.